So I formally welcome you all to this session. I am Anjuman, a proud VAT officer. I have Purva and Dipti with me. Hi Purva. Hi Dipti. Okay, so now what is VAT? VAT stands for Women in Agile and Technology. It is a collective effort to bridge the gap and create a platform for more women and non-binary voices. It is a platform where we help one another build a sustainable network. We strive to provide you with inspirations, educations, and opportunities. Various initiatives that are run by VAT are Visualite, Unleash Your Potential, AG A to Z. So today we are inaugurating the first session in and technology. So without wasting much time, over to you, Ajit, for the session.
Hey, thank you, Anjuman. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ajit, and thank you for sparing some time on Saturday evening for this session. Uh, Hope this session would be helpful to you in getting concepts of story mapping. It's quite a deep topic. Uh, there is a there is a book which there are a lot of books written on this. A very famous book by one of the uh, persons who invented story mapping by Jeff Patton, user story mapping. Itself is quite a detailed book. So I will not be able to cover everything in 1.5 hours, but my intent today is to give you a good overview and a good knowledge of story mapping so that you are at a stage where you can go and start exploring yourself. That's the whole idea today for this session. And also, we will try to do a practical session of 2 minutes, provided we have time available with us. But what I've tried to primarily cover is the concepts, the skeleton structure of a story map, and what are the steps that you actually need to do to begin your story maps, to start creating your story maps, right? Without going more in detail right now, I just uh, share my screen and please confirm if you are able to see my screen. So another request is try to participate in discussions. It's not that I'm here to teach something. I'm here to learn something also, right? And sharing will definitely be helpful. If you share your experiences, I share my experiences. It'll be helpful for all of us, right? Uh, can someone confirm if you can see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Ajit, we
Yeah,
can see your
we can
screen.
see.
Great, thank you. Okay, so story mapping. This is something which is we do hear lot many times, especially if we are talking about agile teams or organizations who are towards agile adoption. So let's try to explore what this is today, right? Uh, these are the learning objectives for today. We'll start with something very basic. What's a story map? Uh, why user story mapping is required? Where all it is helpful? What are the benefits of a story map? What's anatomy of a user story map? What's the right way to create it? What are the things that we have to take care of if we plan to build a story map? What are the logistics required? So all that is part of anatomy of a story map. How to build a story map? This is I have tried to simplify the steps in this. That how do you actually start building a story map? And there are certain tips and tricks from experience that I would share with you guys. That these are certain key pointers that you should remember when you are actually working story maps. Okay? Let's move on. Okay, how I have divided these sections is one more important thing is after every learning objective, we complete a section. There is a Q&A session, small Q&A session of 2 to 3 minutes. I plan it in a manner so that we stay on a topic. We are able to ask certain questions related to that topic. And definitely there is a Q&A session for Q&A session for the all topics collectively at the end of the session also. Right. So there is an opportunity at multiple areas to ask you questions, and I'll try my best to answer it. And if I don't have an answer today, I'll note it down, but I'll get back to you with an answer to it. Okay. Little about me. I have experience in these sectors: education, healthcare, banking, insurance, construction, product development, I had my own startup long time back, public sector. I've been a guest lecturer at universities. My total experience spans approximately 20 years now, out of which 10 years approximately is into Agile. I've been part of engagements. I've been part of safe transformation at Philips. I've been part of transformations at HSBC. Uh, I've been part of transformations at ANZ, uh, RBS, as well as some organizations, banking organizations also, as well as insurance sector. So at present, I don't say myself as an enterprise agile coach. I use a word simple as agile coach. So I am an agile coach right now with an insurance organization in Gurgaon, and I'm supporting them uh, on their transformation journey. I kickstarted this journey with them a long time back, and I've come back to support them uh, again in the transformation. That's just little about me. So I still code. I'm hands-on coder. I've been an entrepreneur. I'm still an entrepreneur. I have done a lot of work UI UX. I've been an architect there also. I started my career as a trainer, and now I'm just playing the role of an agile coach since last few years. So let me ask you a simple question here first. What is a user story? Let's start from a very basic concept. What is a user story? Anyone wants to answer that?
Sure, it's a promise for a conversation where we talk about what we wanted to build.
Okay, good. Promise for a conversation what we wanted to build. That's a good answer.
Story.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I don't know if I am audible or not.
You're audible.
Perfect. So it's a story told by user. I mean, or not literally told by user, but sort of a story that a user can tell if we just think of a persona about what he or she needs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Okay.
user story.
Maybe a journey of a user.
Journey of a user. Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
What else?
Description of user's value in their perspective. Description of a work or feature in user's perspective.
Users requirements or features.
Yeah, user requirements in user's perspective.
Yeah, it's a user requirement, what he wants, where he wants, and what are the benefits.
Good answers. All right. Okay. So let me help you with the points that I know of that I have experienced user stories. See, the goal of user story is not to write better user stories. That's one thing that we always juggle between. Our user story should be written like this. It should be written like this. The most important thing about a user story, I think the first answer which came is it's about conversations, right? I'm very sure you all must be aware of a concept called as 3 C's in a user story, which is 3 C's. Anyone has heard of it? What are 3 C's in a user story?
Yeah, card composition,
Cards,
confirmation, and conversation.
Confirmation,
Yeah.
right. Right.
Complexity.
So the idea was never about writing user stories in a way that they look like requirements or they look like the features. The idea was always to trigger conversations. The reason of writing them on a card is that you write limited amount of information to trigger a conversation. And once you agree on a conversation, right? Okay, you all have an agreement of certain aspects that what should be built and what and how should we take it ahead. That should result into a confirmation in form of acceptance criteria, right? So what understanding is when all involved understand what each person is imagining and why. People who are involved in creation of user stories or identification of user stories, the idea is shared understanding. That yes, we all understand what we want to do and what is our goal. What is it that we want to achieve, right? What we're really trying to do with user stories is to evolve and increase our shared understanding, right? It's not about the format, it's not about the language, it's about how we understand each other. Documents, we know we are dealing with documents and sales, right? We do keep sharing documents with people. Okay, this is what is written in the document, you should follow a document. Everything is written very clearly there, right? Doesn't mean shared understanding. That's, we all know that very well, right? A person, even a small team of 3 to 4 team members also, and if you ask them to explain a single page document which you have shared with them, they will have different flavors of it, right? They will have their own own perceptions, their own elements added to it from their experience and knowledge. This is what happens with shared. So remember that user stories, this concept is to trigger conversations. If you remember that, it'll be easy for us to remember, understand story mapping also, and how they connected. For a story mapping, the word mapping, what it means. I just broke it down in a very layman's language. This might sound a little foolish to you. If it does, my apologies for that. So story is a narrative or a sequence of events or a situation, right? What do you think story mapping should be? What do you think story mapping should be from this? If you understand these two words, story and map, what they actually mean, what story mapping should be then?
Logical sequencing of work that's needed to be done, and
Okay.
the work is explained in a brief, not so complicated.
Okay. Anyone else wants to answer that? Anyone else wants to answer that? What would be the definition of mapping from? If you look at these two words.
By seeing this story map, we can tell a customer, you can see the customer journey, how it is getting evolved, and whether the business values is getting delivered to the end customer or not.
Okay.
Story mapping could be like based on releases, right? The earlier person said, the sequence. It could be the release based on the release with the prioritized requirements, so that it delivers value to the end user.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably it might be a bottom-up or top-down approach of a customer journey.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It may be a story outcome of story, one story to another story, kind of chain.
Okay.
Or
Okay.
maybe the
Anyone
arrangement
else
of
wants
the
to try it?
maybe the arrangement of various stories or collection of stories in respect of the customer alignment or the release or the definition of MVP, according like they are arranged in that particular manner.
All right. Okay. Arrange in a particular manner is a good point. Okay. Anyone else has any other inputs here?
Okay, let me give a short
view. Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay. So basically, it's a two-dimensional visual where time is one and the prioritization is the other aspect of it. So the stories are arranged in that dimension, which gives the user journey from a time perspective from 0 to finish, and then the priority, what's the highest priority versus what the lowest is. So it's the arrangement, like some people said, and alignment of, and it also gives you, I don't want to go too deep into it because you're doing the session, but
yeah.
I would just say it's a two-dimensional visual.
It's more of arranging a story to give a holistic view, where the story fits in the user journey.
Yeah. Give you a holistic view. Yeah. Give me a holistic. Yes, go ahead, Suresh. Go ahead, Suresh.
Can to keep it simple, can we say like establishing a connection?
Okay. All right.
I may be wrong, but I thought I'll just give a try.
That's a very good one. That's a good one. That's a very simple one, and I am actually looking at a very simple answer which we all can remember.
Yeah, I can add.
Yeah.
I think it's already been said by somebody else. I'm trying to summarize that it is basically logical grouping of the customer journey and how you are helping the release planning. Now, while doing the release planning, you can either use a roadmap or you can use a story map.
Yes, right. And just to add one more specific word to it, we call it a narrative flow of a customer's journey in a system or a solution. I mean, that's how I simply remember it and try to explain it. Narrative flow means that by looking at it, anyone can actually understand or call out, yes, this is the customer journey or a flow. I'm going to narrate that flow or a customer journey to anyone who is looking at a story map, what customer goes through my product or a solution to achieve a certain goal. That's how I remember story mapping in a simple way. A narrative flow which talks about the customer's journey or their experience in the complete system. Does that make sense? I mean, you all can agree and disagree to that also. I'm also good here for corrections if anyone else is there who thinks I've missed something. This is how I
Yeah,
remember it. So
I think yes, that narrative flow is an important aspect because it's a customer journey, but how you are logically sequencing in because you are also telling a story while doing the story mapping, right? So that
that's
narrative
right.
flow is an important distinction.
Yeah, thank you for that, Tanmay. That's right. And with that, let's move on. If a story mapping definition is clear, let's move on to the next one. So why user story mapping is required? From what, let's come to why. Right? Why do we need story mapping? We all have product backlogs. Yes, things are good. We have been using, and the product backlog term exists now since the Scrum actually exists, right? Or other ways, other practices exist. They have a term backlog with them also. Why suddenly there is a need for user story mapping? Product backlogs, we do have prioritization. We have smaller items at the top. We call them PBI product backlog items. We keep refining them. But why do we need user story mapping? Any guess on that? Why there is a need for this?
To check for the alignment, whatever the as of now backlog is, how far it is with the intended behavior of the system, how far or close we are, so accordingly we can take the action of creating the new user stories or required one.
So I think it is to map the work that the team is doing, the stories. How does it align with the customer, to the customer journey? Alignment of the stories to the customer journey.
That's right. That's a good point. Yes.
To check how iterative and incremental we sprints.
Okay, good. That's a good one, Naveen. Okay. Have you heard of these terms in an organizations or anywhere? Let's say if you are there in an organization, have you heard any of these terms? What is there right now? We are unaware of big picture. Our focus is delivering user stories and features only, epics. Meeting acceptance criteria is what we're looking at. It's challenging to align all users, stakeholders to a common goal. Stories aren't well written. We don't understand the acceptance criteria. Right? What is written when we develop it? There are always something which keep adding to it. Right? There is always an assumption that we done this way. This was our understanding. We must say this. Have you heard these kind of conversations where you are working or building products or solutions? Have you heard these kind of things have been or these kind of statements?
Yes, many
Sounds
times.
sounds familiar?
Yeah.
Right? And these statements are still there. We do have a product backlog. We put a lot of effort in that. We do have prioritization, but still we have these statements. Why? Okay. These are the observations. Why? Observation one, know what you are building, right? Arranging user stories in order you build them doesn't help when you want to answer the question, what does the system you're building do? This is usually product backlog is a one-dimensional aspect. We always talk about priorities. The most important stuff has to be at the top, right? So we know what we are building. We have clarity on that, yes. But with time, what happens is we lose the connecting dots, right? And somewhere are lost when someone asks us a question, what does the system do actually when what you're building, what the system does, what problem does it solve, right? We somewhere with time feel lost that, okay, this is what we discussed when we actually started the project. And we sometimes start thinking on our own, does it still stands correct what we are building, right? I'm not saying it happens with everyone. It has happened with me a few times. So I'm just talking from my experience here purely right now. Okay. Observation number two, know how things relate. You can't see how everything fits together. Making decisions what to build next is difficult. Sure, you haven't forgotten about the features, but we do miss small nitty-gritties that, okay, oh, this was also to be done, we missed that. Oh, how did we skip this part? Oh, this was quite obvious, this should have been done, right? We start hearing these kind of statements also. Okay. Option three, know you build the right things. You can't see how your user experience the product. Planning coherent value-driven releases is difficult, right? We do have a backlog. We do create releases on the basis of the understanding of the backlog, and we do use a lot of prioritization, different techniques also from different methodologies of work. But still, we cannot figure out. We cannot completely call out a user experience. We cannot call out a user journey actually in a flat user story backlog, right? These are primary three observations that I have also felt throughout my journey in the agile world, yes, this does happen, right? So it's not that we cannot stop using user story or a flat user backlog. I'm not doing, let me give you a disclaimer, I'm not doing any comparisons here that you should not use flat user story backlog and you should only use story map. That's not the idea. The idea is which thing or which element actually fits in and which place, right? That's the idea here. Now, this is just a pictorial representation of both the things for you to understand how do they look different. That's it. No other purpose other than this right now. This is not a comparison here, right? So backlog looks like a simple set of linear items, and this is actually a two-dimensional area we talk about. Just to give you high-level glimpse right now, we talk about one dimension in the backlog, which is priority. Here we talk about two dimensions, time and necessity, involving users. That is one extra thing that we add. This thing that you see icons at top are actually my users at the top here, my personas. We'll talk about this in little detail. Okay. Now, this is where story mapping actually helps. Shared understanding through externalized thinking and communication. What is externalized thinking? Anyone wants to guess on this? What is externalized thinking?
Speaking
What do you
out
mean
your
externalized
mind.
thinking?
Speaking out your mind
Sorry?
constantly. Speaking out your mind constantly.
Okay. Anything else?
Be thinking
And this is a very, very
outside
important
the box.
concept in story mapping. Sorry?
Out of box thinking.
Think
Thinking-
outside.
Out of
Think
box.
out.
Okay.
Thinking
Okay.
from customer's perspective.
Thinking beyond your team product backlog.
Okay.
Thinking at an enterprise level on what the customer is
Yeah,
expecting.
it should be thinking about like by putting yourself in the customer's shoes.
Uh-huh. Okay. Okay. How do we, if you talk about internalized thinking and externalized thinking, I don't know how many of you know little about it. How do we actually, the difference lies in the expression. I mean, just giving you a hint. Externalized thinking and internalized thinking. With this hint, what is externalized thinking? Any guess is okay, that's fine. I'm just
No.
trying to get answers if I get something new.
No, it's more like a design thinking, meaning that thinking from the user perspective. No?
Okay. All right. Okay. So how I use externalized thinking is whenever I am in discussions or I am part of discussions, even if it is a customer or teams or it is we're trying to figure out the what is our goal actually of a solution of a product. So whenever any thoughts came and whenever people are talking, I use a simple technique of I pick up a sticky and write it down my thoughts then and there only. Right. So I'm giving a to my thoughts, I'm giving an external view to it so that all others can see it. Right. I see external thinking in this manner that I write down things and I actually put the things at the right moment to make it visible that what I am thinking about the whole discussion that we are having. So story map, why this is very important is story maps takes shape, the picture that we saw, which is something going on one dimension, something going on X dimension and Y dimension. Externalized thinking is something that you keep writing things and keep putting on this big wall on which you're creating map, and then you do arrangements of things that how do you want to take it ahead. Talk about this complete activity. So externalized thinking in context of mapping is write down what comes to your thought. You can put it as an idea. You can put it as a new suggestion. You can put it as something, okay, it's a wide thought, or you can actually put it as that this is an important element of a solution that we are building. It could be an important piece. So whatever you're thinking, put it somewhere that people can see it. That's how I say externalized thinking is. Okay? And communication added to it. That you clearly express it. Yes.
So what is the internalized thinking, if you can explain in the context?
So in the context of story map is whenever you are talking about your solutions or the product, always ensure that you are writing down those things and making it visible to people. Externalized thinking is whatever is going inside you, whatever thought process is going inside you, put it in a form that others can actually see it, view it, give it an external shape. The best way to do is put it on a sticky note and paste it somewhere, and then add it in the team's set of items identified or at the right moment that these are my thoughts on what discussions we're having right now. That's what externalized thinking is. Giving it a view so that people can see it and you can have communication on that in form of explaining that what you have thought of. Does that make sense? It's just capturing your ideas. It's just capturing your ideas always.
What I'm trying
Don't
to
think
understand
about it's a bad idea or a good idea.
Yes, sorry. I'm trying to understand the difference between externalized and internalized. So is it that if you don't put your thoughts on the sticky notes, what your thoughts are, it's internalized? Whereas when you put it out there at that moment, it becomes externalized? Like, what's the difference? Just trying to understand here.
All right. I'm talking right now only from the perspective of story mapping, Ruby. Here, the concept of externalized thinking is making visible your ideas, your thoughts, your suggestions to everyone across so that we can fill the loopholes that we have in the solution, or we actually identify the areas that where we are lagging, or we identify the areas that okay, these are the things we must be doing. And how it helps us actually lies in the 4 points. In the context of story mapping, it is just write down your ideas and put it somewhere that everyone in the room or the people you are doing this activity can see it. That's it. Does it help?
Okay, thanks.
It sounds more like an idea backlog.
You can use that term, yes. And usually idea backlog is something that we keep aside. That's an additional element in story mapping. We do keep a kind of list of items which are coming up as part of discussion as new ideas. Though we start with specific goals, we know what our vision is, what our goal is. We start basically with that. But yes, whenever new ideas and new things come up, we do keep a separate area on a story map, which could be a section that, okay, these are the new ideas or elements which are coming up. Later on, we see that how does it fit in actually the complete journey. That's how we do it. You want to call it an idea backlog? Yes, fine. Okay. So where does it help? It's a conversation starter. So when you start writing your thoughts or your ideas and start making it visible, right? That obviously triggers conversations, right? Okay, can you explain what this idea is, what that you have written? Is my understanding on this correct? And what's your understanding on this? So story mapping actually, if you, let's say that you talk about a user journey, a simple example is my registration on for registration for the event itself, right? If I put a new idea there, okay, we are allowing people a registration in a certain mechanism. And what if we allow them simple registration through, I'm just seeing a wild example right now, LinkedIn account or Gmail account. And I put that under a registration area story map, right? So that's a conversation starter. Why did you put that? What was the reason of putting that? What was the thought process? Might be the reason is I want to have people register quickly in one step. Right now, it's taking 3 steps for me to do it. Give an example wherein we can out things, right? So it's a conversation starter for us. Getting the big picture out, having a whole plan as a reference point. So how do you get a big picture out? You always get a big picture out when you do this as a collective activity. If you start doing this activity as story map, let's say you're talking about a single product, right? There are organizations who are small organizations, there are medium organizations and large organizations. Even large organizations, we recommend do the story mapping activity as a collective activity so that you have a single reference point. What is it that you want actually to build as part of this product? Doesn't matter how many teams are involved, doesn't matter how many people are involved, but a big picture will help you solve a lot of problems upfront, especially dependencies. It'll help you call out risk, it'll help you call out dependencies upfront, right? It also helps in support and prioritization. How? When you have a 2-dimensional data with you, and when you're talking about a journey of, right, your business will understand that language also very well, right? Okay, what is it you're talking about? These are the things that user has to do in a system. These are the must. These are not. These might not be required. Yes, we can go ahead with certain things not going as part of initial product launch. Right? All these kind of decisions can actually be taken from the story mapping activity. It helps us align with business because you're talking in their language, right? You're talking in the language of the users that they represent, right? Develop outcome-based thinking, MVP identification. Someone called out, it's actually something releases based or MVP based. it's actually the other way around. We can identify our MVP and releases from a story map because we have a big picture in front of us and we can easily call out what is it we need, what is it we don't need. About here, right? Decisions about what to build and in what order is also easy for us to understand because the complete user journey is in front of us. We can take calls easily what needs to be built and what should be built first. Okay. The goal is to minimize output and maximize outcome. Right. This I think we all understand from the agile world, right? That what we should be producing actually, either we run sprints or either we run we do it in a Kanban way. Our idea is always, if you talk about lean, reduction of waste reduction, right? How that happens is we want to maximize the outcome of what we are doing, right? Story mapping will help you actually identify, like I said above, and it helps you identify what to build and in what order. Visible product goal and vision. Everyone knows what a product goal is, what a vision is. We always keep that next to our story maps, very clearly visible, and everyone understand whether we're following it or not. When someone asks a question, what's a product goal and vision? We always say this is a product goal and a vision, and this is how we mapped it. This is how the user journey goes, and this is how a persona goes to the system, and this is what the goal of the product was. It's very easy to map that because it's physically visible in front of us. Identify holes and understanding. If you're missing some elements, nitty-gritties, small elements which might be critical, you can always incorporate that in a story map in a two-dimensional way, right? Where does it falls? When we do it? All those decisions can happen there. Okay. With this, I'll stop for questions on this section. Any questions so far? Any questions so far?
I think
So far, so good. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, please. Any questions?
So far, so good.
Yeah,
Okay.
so far all good.
Okay, thank you. I've just stopped my video because of a little bandwidth issue. My apologies for that. Is that okay with everyone? Deepti, is that okay? Purva?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Thank you. And apologies for this. Thank you. I'll just try to switch it on again in between.
Can I ask a question, Ajit?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Is the story map specifically for a new application or product development, or can it be used for also the what we can say migration kind of technical enhancements? More often, I see the teams using them in product enhancement or new product requirements. Apart from that, where else can we leverage these story maps?
So simple answer to this is, I'll answer it in the sequence that you asked me the questions, Bala. Right? First is, it can be used in existing products for a new feature launch. I am at present doing that in the current organization. We are creating story map of the features that we know of and to understand the sequence, the journey, how multiple users will go through this feature, what are the personas that fit into this feature, what are the complications that we see, what should we do first to get maximum benefit. So it can be done for existing projects, it can be done for a feature also required, right? We are doing that right now and it is helping us out. Second, if you talk about, you said maintenance projects, can you please repeat that one? Is it a maintenance projects you said?
For a maintenance or technical enhancements project, if we are somehow changing the underlying infrastructure from one cloud to another cloud, things like that.
Okay. I have not done it for maintenance project, but if I have done it for non-IT projects. And today's example also was for a non-IT, the practical session was for a non-IT product or a solution. Maintenance, yes, if I think right now and give that answer at the moment right now, yes, it can be done. But the only thing that needs to be very clear is the goal, what is the outcome that we want to achieve, okay, and what is our vision towards that. If these two aspects are clear, I think it can be done. There should not be a problem.
Yeah, and if I can support that answer, the answer is yes, it can be done for, it doesn't just need to be product, it can be done for anything.
So let's understand the story map as that you are explaining or telling a story to first yourself and then might be to someone else, that whatever you're working on, how do you see that benefits the people or the users for whom you're building that? And what is the validation or a moral of a story? I will say moral of a story is a word because we're talking about stories. What's the moral of a story that we're trying to get out of it, which is an outcome? So if you're clear in these things, I think it can be done. That's
So
my
it
answer.
means like if you have a problem and if you have a goal, you can straight away do the story.
You should at least try it,
Right?
Sriram.
Yeah, yeah.
And we definitely reach out somewhere.
Anything, because it
Don't
starts
hesitate.
with, it starts from there. Like I
Yes.
know the problem. Yes, I have the goal. Then you can split
Yes.
it.
Then you can
And,
actually start it and
yeah.
see how it flows.
Yeah, how it goes.
And I'm sure from experience so far that the outcome is something which we might not expect in a positive way. We might get some insight if you're not able to make a perfect story, and it will never be perfect. It's a kind of like we say for a product backlog, it's a living document. So it's a living artifact. As you will progress on your product vision and goals, this will actually keep on changing with time.
Yeah, this is more as a discovery, right? Like at least the conversations will start flowing.
Right. That's right. Initial phase, the discovery, you can say. Yes. Okay. Any more questions?
Yeah, I
Shall we
think
move on? Yes.
Ajit.
Yes, Akhil.
Yeah, hi Ajit. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I just joined in a bit late, but quite curious to know in terms of the story mapping. When do we actually introduce the story mapping, and who works on getting the story mapping done?
Can I park that question for just few more minutes? The answer
Sure,
lies in the
sure.
future slides. Yeah.
Sure.
We'll
Okay.
come back to that. If
If
I'm
it's
not
already
able to
done,
answer
it's
it,
good to know.
if you're not able to get an answer, I'll definitely answer that for you.
Thanks, Ajit. That helps.
No problem. Sure. Okay. Any more questions? Shall we move on? Okay.
Yeah, let's
we'll
move
on. So let's talk about anatomy of a map. Right. So when we talk about story maps, even when we talk about product backlog also has an anatomy, right? Is that right to say? Every artifact has an anatomy, right? Or no? Does product backlog has an anatomy? Yes, no, guys.
Yes.
Yes.
So what's the anatomy of a product backlog? What's the anatomy of a product backlog?
Anatomy, it will have epics, user stories, and then task.
Okay.
And then user stories will have acceptance criteria. So these are some of the anatomy which I can think of.
Okay.
The anatomy
Any more
of the
answers? Thank you
product,
for that, Harish.
the anatomy of the product backlog would be the user stories arranged in order of priority.
Okay. Yes, arrange in order of priority is anatomy. Yes. Okay. Let's move on with those answers for now.
It will be a living document.
Yes, go ahead.
It will be a living document which will be like will keep on enhancing as the time goes on.
Yeah.
Will serve as a reference for
simple way of representing the journey.
Yes, simple way of representing that. So the product backlog anatomy is okay. We keep the smallest item at the top. We go with the priority. The large items start falling downwards. Right. The biggest items actually go towards the last itself. And there is a sequence that we follow in a product backlog. We can simply call that as an anatomy. Simply user story map also has
We
an
can
anatomy.
also go from the bottom up also, right?
Bottom up, yes. Priority is bottom up. That's what I said. Priority is always bottom up. So similarly, user story has an anatomy, which actually is a two-dimensional area, right? The x-axis goes towards time, and y-axis goes towards necessity. Right? These are the primary two measurements. At many places, if you Google or do something, you will see certain other things also on the y-axis. Sometimes it's necessity, sometimes it's prioritization. People use different values for the y-axis also. Right? A simple anatomy lies actually in the simple anatomy is 3 to 4 layers actually are in a story map, right? If you look at the top areas, which are these areas, these actually represent my personas. So, not many times I've seen people they don't want to keep personas, or they want to keep it aside, or they want to create story map without personas first. It's a matter of choice, right? So many times we keep on adding personas as they realize it. That's also fine way to do it. Then you have another layer. I'll help you understand what this other layer stands for. You have one more layer, 3, and the 4 layer, right? So this usually goes into 3 to 4 layers with 2-dimension area, the time, and necessity. That is what we simply have to understand right now at this level. We'll elaborate it more in the slides further, right? We'll go step by step now. First layer is user personas. Who are your users and what are their goals? That's the first layer. In a story map, I clearly talk about personas. Who are your users and what are their goals? So I'm just pausing for a minute. Purva, I see a lot of chat messages coming up. I'm not reading them through because of screen share. So can someone look at it and tell me if anything important is there?
Yeah, I'll update
Sure,
you.
Ajit. Yeah, we'll take care.
I know 3 responses, Ajit, but we 3 of us are actually reading. Mostly they are answered. There is no unanswered point here. Also, people are responding to what you're asking. Those who are not unmuting themselves, they're responding on chat.
Okay. So my apologies if I'm not looking at your answers because I'm on the screen share right now, but I'll definitely have a look at the answers once the session is done. I'll have a look at that. Okay.
Yeah.
So user personas, what are the users and what are their goals, right? How do we create personas? We'll talk a little about that also. First, then the next layer which comes is actually user tasks, or we in story mapping terminology, we call it walking skeleton. Right? These are the things that a user does to achieve a certain goal. For example, might be send email, right? So all steps that I need to do to send an email will actually come in this area. I'm sorry, I was muted. I was also muted by the host. I've just unmuted myself. I'll repeat the slide again. Yeah.
Ajit, sorry to disturb you. Can you please explain the previous slide again? There was a
Previous
background
slide?
noise.
Previous slide, Sahil?
Yeah, previous slide.
Okay, here I go. Yes. No, sorry, the previous one. This one, user personas. This is the first level, first layer. Okay. In story map, we are talking about the anatomy of the story map. That how do we see all these things? Okay, we're going section by section. Any questions here so far?
No.
Okay. Next comes is the user tasks, walking skeleton. Things a user does to achieve a goal starts with the verb, example, send email. Right. So here we put up all the tasks that a user is supposed to do to send an email to anyone. Right. We are not talking about right now the email format or easy way to send it or whatever it is. Simple is, let me write down all the steps, what user has to do to send an email. That's it. There should be no more question beyond this. The goal is to send email. Let's write down the steps that we need to do actually to send an email. Right. So I'm talking about tips and tricks also in between here. So what we look at it is, whenever we talk about user journey, this is what happens. I've seen that whenever we talk about user task as walking skeleton, we start going deep actually. Oh, user has to register first. Oh, shall we allow him to register? How do we shall we allow him to register? Is it through an existing email, through some other mechanism, phone number, OTP? Okay, shall we allow a LinkedIn account connect? Now you're actually going in depth. Now this is a to go in breadth first. Go this way first. First, write down all the steps that you need to do to send an email. The same level of steps, the first level of steps. Try not to go into depth here. That is what usually happens. The depth start coming first. We actually lose the complete journey focus there. That we have to first capture the complete journey of the user. Depth, we have an opportunity to go into deep also, right? First thing is create a walking skeleton, user tasks to achieve a certain goal. That's the first thing. Is that clear so far? Okay, so I've specifically written go this way first, right? You have to go x-axis first. Forget about y-axis right now. Okay, next. Whatever user steps we have identified, we try to group them into similar tasks and we call them user activities backbone. Why do we do that is a question. Why do we do that? We have user steps with us, right? Then why do we group them into user activities as backbone, grouping of similar tasks? What is the need of doing this in a story map? What is the need? Any guess? Or if anyone has heard about it or have done story maps ever? Why do we need to create user activities or club similar user activities as group?
Maybe to understand the priority.
Yeah, it will help us to understand the priority.
And also possibly to, segregate if different teams can do stuff independently.
And possibly to identify common themes that are emerging.
Yes, common themes. And yes, it has multiple.
Affinity
yes,
mapping kind of.
Yeah, it will try to understand the dependencies across activity. Once I have 2-3 groups, then is there any dependencies between the first group of activity to second activity, or anything which will help us to rearrange further? That may be the
right.
So there is one more response from Krishna Mohan and then from Murcharan that it is also about reusability.
It's also about
reusability.
Reusability. Okay, good. That's good. Yes. So all these points do stand correct, whatever you said. Why we create a backbone is, backbone is something that if created, you will not change. It will stay as it is. The prioritization, the sequencing can change. As someone said, based on dependency identification, it can change. But once you have a backbone, I'm not sure this is the must to have rule is, a good rule is, we try not to change backbone, because if you change backbone, everything else changes. Very obvious, right? The reason of grouping these similar tasks and creating user activities to backbone is to identify, yes, it can help us identify dependencies. It can help us do sequencing and prioritization better, right? It can help us group the activities. Yes, if certain teams can do it and certain teams can do this part of the work, all these decisions can help if we actually do this kind of grouping in user story mapping. That's the whole purpose of doing it. Yeah.
And
then,
can this help in creating? Sorry.
Yes, Anil, go please. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So this can help in identifying the epics also, right? I mean, by grouping this, is that?
So yes, many times this mapping does happen. Yet your backbone might becomes theme or epics depending on how you are envisioning your complete product. It does happen. If you do this activity in some tools like Jira or something, they do envision it like this only. They map it, they map these two epics, the backbone of user activities, they start actually mapping to epics, or they call it themes or epics. That actually happens. You're right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So user stories. Then last thing that we do is we flesh out the user journey in detail. We start talking about subtasks, which actually becomes our user stories. We talk about alternatives, we talk about exceptions, we talk about risk, we talk about dependencies. All those things can actually start taking shape now. So the last thing that you do is not the last thing. The next thing that you do is you now go down, you go in deep, right? You have explored, you have sorted your breadth, you know what lies on the upper layer. Now you start going deep into it, that to do these steps or to do these activities, what is it that we actually now build? That build part is this layer. Here we start writing user stories at a high level. Now a question here comes to me, I'm just sharing from experiences. Okay, how do we write user stories? Do we write detailed user stories? Do we write acceptance criteria here? So what do you think the answer to this should be?
Just one liner.
Yes, it will be one liner at the story mapping stage.
Yeah, we should write user story at us. Yes, just a one liner following the format from thinking from an user perspective.
I think it is the title of the user story. Just line.
Okay. So the answer to this, what I usually give is write what everyone understand. And if we come back to the story mapped after 2 months, you still remember what you wrote. That's a simple answer I give. Right here, the format doesn't matter. User story, way of writing a user story. Okay, as a user, doesn't matter so much. Write what you and your team members remember. That what is it that we wrote, and does it make any sense to us today? If you have to come back to this map after 2 months, usually you don't come after 2 months. This is an ongoing activity. But whenever next iterations, you have left behind something, you have moved on. The simple answer to it. Does it sound reasonable? And you're able to connect it. That's how it should, right? Okay.
That makes sense. There's one more answer, like as in the chart. So to follow the invest criteria, and one more answer is one more question is actually, how does Backbone help in prioritization? Sequence of steps in that flow gives equal importance for each step of user journey.
I'll come to this. Can I park this question? I know 2 questions are parked now. Can we park this and come to this in the future slides?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Now, the user story map, how actually it should look like finally. Like the word I use is a narrative flow, right? Tell a day in your user's life from left to right and top to bottom. If you're successfully able to do this, you have created your user story map. There has to be a narrative flow. For example, if I say send email, user registers, user login, user goes to the inbox, right? Then there's an option to compose an email, send an email, compose an email, and send an email. I'm just talking about the high-level steps right now. If I'm able to tell a narrative flow of my user that what steps user perform, right, to achieve a certain goal. So the dotted line shows how it goes. You have to go like this. This is how you should be able to tell that these are all the steps that users do to achieve a certain goal. Or this is how a specific user journey looks like to me, the complete system. If you're able to tell the narrative flow easily, you're good. If not, okay. I'm just going little ahead to, okay, I'll come to that. Sorry, let's talk about narrative flow. There is certain more tips and tricks that I'll talk about narrative flow. Right? Narrative flow should be easy to tell in few lines. 2 to 3 lines, you should be able to explain what this persona is doing in your complete product or solution. If this happens, you're good. Okay. Now, next step is we try to release out slices from this. We try to slice releases from this now, right? Identify the smallest number of user story for each task and which achieves your user's goals. So from this complete map, the blue lines actually you see are indicators of actually the releases in the story map, right? So might be these are the items that I want to take. These are the user stories that I want to take in my release. Now, the question here is, and the important point here is, build everything from left to right for a release. If you actually want a user to have a complete journey in a system, if you build it in chunks, okay, let's build this part later on, then that's not an MVP, right? What's the definition of MVP? We know it's a minimum viable product, but what's MVP? Real sense. That's a question. Can anyone help me answer that? What's an MVP?
That if you release this in the production and give it to customer, he will be able to use and be fulfilled with a certain amount of functionality fully in itself.
Right. So story maps, with the help of story maps, you will actually be able to figure out your MVPs very easily, because you will know if you're missing a step, if you're missing a certain step, that means user is not completing a journey there, right? Something is wrong, something is not right. If you're taking out an MVP by skipping certain things here, you're not completing a user journey there. So that's a very clear indication to you. Now that's a call. Do you want to do it or you don't want to do it, right? And extra information we attach to it is in a story map itself is we can attach measurable outcomes here, and we actually paste it. When we create story maps in a physical form on walls, with every release we have actually used big sticky note chart, right? 3M big sticky note charts, writing the measurable outcomes, goals, metric, KPIs for each specific release, so that we know what we're talking about in this release. We don't miss any part, right? We ensure these things that with releases, we call out these things also clearly in a story map. Okay. This is a simple example of a story map. I've just taken a very basic example. If time permits, we'll definitely be creating a story map today. This is a fine product. You have steps that okay, user will search it. For view product, you will have view product listing. Or if I go in the actual sequence that we talked about, my goal is okay, user should be able to view the products in on my portal that I'm building or an application that I'm building. I should have user should have an option to search it, view the product listing as a outcome of search results, and go to a specific product page also. Go to a specific product page also, that okay, to see the details of that specific product. Okay, so if I, after creating this, I have actually clubbed that as my backbone. That search goes under find product. Okay, my view product listing and view product page goes under the category as view product. So I know what I have to build. My backbone is now. I know what actually is the sequence which is going to work on. And on the basis of that, I have my stories defined at a very high level right now. Right. This is extra information if you attach to a story map. If you attach product goals to it, UI sketches, wireframes, ideas and principles and personas, it's actually a very good value addition to a story map and presents a complete picture of the complete product or the solution. This extra information is also very helpful if you attach it to the story map. Okay. Now I'll pause there for questions. Again, any questions here, please?
Hi, Ajit. This is Harish here. I have a question.
Yes,
Can you? I just wanted to understand. Can you just go to the previous screen? This sticky notes in blue. They are. Can I assume or map it to an epic? And yellow are user stories.
Okay. So let me ask this question to audience here. Does it look like an epic or does it look like a theme? Let me ask this question here. We use the word theme also many times, right?
Yeah.
It looks more like a theme.
Yeah, it looks like a theme.
It more looks like a theme. And what looks like epic here in this case?
Adjectives.
The search or
the
view
green
product,
search,
everyone.
product listing, view product page, right? Okay. So why we are calling them themes? Find product, view product. Why we are calling them themes? Why are they themes?
It's related stories. Something.
Related functionality.
Related functionality.
Related functionality, right? So I think Shriram, you asked this question, or Harish, someone asked the question. Sorry, I forgot the name.
Not somebody else.
Yeah, Harish. I just asked.
Is this clear, Harish, now?
Yeah, correct. Clear. Yeah. Yeah, and so when you call it as a team, I'm saying view product page. So I assume that this also comes under the view product screen, right? So how many ever epics are there below the themes, then I can just keep on adding, and then next to theme, I'll just put it in. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, it can be also features, right?
Yeah, the very important consideration, Harish, here is if you're adding something in this layer, even user steps also, you have to be sure that it is part of user journey, right? Many times it happens we add it because of having a feel good factor or good to have things. Suggestion here is that whenever you talk about user steps, let's try to first create a bare minimum letter. We can always add flesh letter build well. Is that right? Right. So idea here is build your skeleton and backbone strong. You can always add flesh here. This is the area where you add flesh. Most of the flesh goes here, right? I like to say that.
Okay, you got it.
And I think there is one more question which is already probably answered. To how much extent we can allow technical discussion while we are drafting stories? As if we need to identify
technical discussions.
Yeah, while we are
technical discussions question.
While we are drafting stories.
Okay. Okay. From my experience, we do call out those areas where we find ourselves challenges, where we find that there are challenges in this area. Might be a third-party integration, setting up of infra for certain things. We can call that out here. We can call that out as considerations or risk. Okay. The reason of calling that out here as consideration risk is whenever you start working and the story map progresses towards building, taking a shape of a product, story map will progress towards building or taking a shape of a product, right? Whenever you're doing that, whenever you reach to a stage that, okay, we see a consideration or risk there, if you have called that out, like I said, externalized thinking, this is a part of externalized thinking also. If you have called that down and it is visible to everyone here, even if you're there tomorrow or you're not there tomorrow, you're moved on from the organization, if those things are still present here, at least everyone is aware that something needs to be considered before picking up certain activity or a step that we have to work upon. So technical discussion up to an extent wherein It gives you a clarity primarily that, okay, what part is, even in fact, when you talk about stories also, the what part of stories, acceptance criteria, you don't go into too much of detail. We have an opportunity to do that in our refinement sessions later on. The idea of a story map here is to create a structure, right, by which we can say this is how a product will look like. That's a simple answer to it. How product will look like is your envisioning here. How product will function is the detailing part of this. That's a how part, right? We can have validations, we can have these kind of things in that. That is a part of one level when after product envisioning. Right now, story mapping is helping you to actually envision your product or a solution here.
Yeah, product backlog formation level.
Does that help?
Yeah. I guess, I mean, I just read it out from the comment, but I
Okay.
think to me it was helpful. Yeah.
Okay. Let's move on. User story mapping steps. How do we do actually user story mapping? Okay. Preparations, step 0.
Ajit, I'm sorry, Ajit.
Yes.
I just have a quick question on the previous
Yeah.
slide. So
Yes.
you defined that these stories have to be explained from left to right? So is it something
Can you
kind
be a
of
little louder? Can I request you to be a little louder, please?
Am I audible now?
Yes,
Ajit?
audible now.
Okay. So you mentioned that these stories have to be presented from left to right? When we're talking
Yeah.
to anyone, or we're presenting to anyone. So is it kind of like a process flow? Okay, a high level process flow, and then we detail out the process flow in those user stories.
Okay.
Is it similar to that?
Yeah. So this is how I would answer it, Akhil. Actually, is I still would call it a narrative flow, because when we talk about processes, we talk about, I mean, if not explicitly, somewhere implicitly, we do understand there are certain boundaries or there are certain rigid rules towards that. Now, when we talk about, let's try to understand in a very simple way here, right? Why we say narrative flow? As in our childhood, as child, we have heard stories, right? So every story has a kind of a narrative flow. It goes in a sequence, right? It goes in a way with the moral of a story. So if I make it process, in that case, what I'm actually doing is that I cannot do it before this. Do you think that is correct in Agile world? I mean, just a question. I'm throwing back a question here. Do you think we should be call it a process flow that you cannot do this without this? That's actually not the case.
Yeah.
With as experience that we have from this Agile world now is that things change. Whenever we are actually building a product also, things change. Might be tomorrow my narrative flow starts to change. If I build first theme or first set of epics, my narrative flow might change on the basis of the user feedback. Is that possible? Is that possible?
Yes, it's
Might be
possible.
after my MVP. It is possible. It is possible. Right. So what we are focused on is that user journey should be as user wants it to be, or we don't know what actually they want to be, honestly. Without an MVP, we'll never know. But whatever we know of, we want the user journey to be a journey which is convenient for them, which they are happy about using it. Right. These are the assumptions that we make. We don't know. We cannot validate assumptions unless until an MVP or a first release goes out. On the basis of this, my narrative flow might change. User says, no, I didn't want this. I wanted this. Next theme or next topic will change. Is that right, Akhil?
Yes.
That's how I look at it. That's I don't call it a process flow because it keeps on changing.
Got it.
Right? Okay. Let's move on. First step is preparations. Preparations is whenever we talk about story maps, actually, if I talk from experience, we start doing these preparations many days ahead of it. We need to physically, when we used to do it, we need to find a big room where you have a big white wall. We need to identify the people. Sorry, excuse me. We need to identify people whom we want to pull in. We do certain sessions with them to make them understand what we're trying to do. We try to have a clear vision of a product, clear goal that we want to actually have from a product, from story mapping activity. All these things we usually before we actually come to even step 0, right? And this does happens in any project or a product, irrespective of the methodology that we follow. There are certain preparations, prep works that goes into it, right? But when if you're at this stage, what you need is a big wall or a whiteboard or a real-time whiteboard or flip charts if you're doing it physically. You need 8 to 10 people cross-functional, including real users, or it could be more than that. If your organization is very big and you are doing it for a very big project, this can substantially increase to 20, 25 people also. It can happen, right? So this is basic preparation, set the right expectations of people, have your logistics in place, identify the timelines. Actually, when you want to do story maps, you want to spend a whole day, you want to break it on multiple days. These are all part of logistics work. Okay? Frame the product. What does this actually frame the product is? Which problem is your product going to solve? You have a very clear understanding on this. Or even like I said, you need to paste the product vision and goals written very clearly on the wall itself, where we are actually going to build our story maps, so that even if someone comes new from that session, they know what we're talking about, right? What is the product going to solve? Which problem it is going to solve? Who are the users of your product? Personas are identified up to an extent. I'm not saying all personas. Some things are which we do come across as we move on, right? How does your organization benefits from building the product, right? What are the primary goals that we're trying to achieve, right? What is the outcome that we're expecting from us also has to be very clear. This is framing the product. Map the big picture, user task and activities. Next thing we do is, as we talk about the green areas, green sticky notes, map the big picture. The first step in map the big picture is identify the things users can do, user tasks with your application. Step is start with the most critical to your product success, add users as they enter the story. What this means is you can keep on adding personas as you identify that yes, there might be more personas required in the complete flow, right? So we try to cover all personas or as much as personas, because that helps us in capturing all the information which might go missing, which is filling the gaps. Okay. Second thing we do in this is, when we talk about map the big picture, is we group similar tasks into name clusters, user activities. We create a backbone, right? The skeleton, the backbone, right? Add to basket, view product, it becomes part of select product. We select product, search product, become find product. Login, manage users, pay product, checkout. This is how we try to create themes out of the complete skeleton that we have created, which becomes a backbone for the skeleton itself. Okay. Third is, this is important, bring activities and tasks into an order in which users would complete them. So you might end up in a situation that you are not actually have written in a flow that user goes in. We always can sequence it. The third step in map the big picture is we bring activities and tasks. First, we start doing actually these areas. Okay. Okay, what users should do first? We should have manage users first, then find product, then select product. Right? Might be we could have written find product here, manage users here. So when an item moves, a blue sticky moves, green ones automatically do that. That's how it goes. Right? Or in fact, I've also seen that even the green one also changes area. So should we have this under search product? Should we have under this select product? These kind of conversations also trigger out with some wild thoughts and different ideas. So the idea is to create or align the complete story map as per your user's journey here. Okay. Tell the narrative and confirm. Fourth and the last step is tell the narrative and confirm all relevant activities and tasks have been captured. Right. So like I said, you have to go narrative left to right, top to bottom. Remember that dotted line, that wavy dotted line. If you're able to tell story on that wavy dotted line, you are good. Your story map looks good, at least for now, with the current information. I'm not saying good forever, with the current information that you have. Okay. User story mapping tips for map the picture. If telling the narrative doesn't feel right, you're lost, or you're thinking that does it sounds right, then your product design may have gaps, or a solution design may have gaps. Right? You can add activities or tasks that don't fit into the narratives to end of the map. Okay? Which is activities which you see are you missed it, you're not, you have a thought that okay, we should add it there also. Good suggestion is add it to the end of the map and again try to rearrange the map on the basis of the user journey. If a user story appears multiple times, that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about removing it. It is an indication that it's an important piece of the product or the solution, and you can actually use different markers or dots to indicate that these are duplicate stories. Is that clear so far? Third step is explore the story. Explore the story is break down higher level tasks into more detailed user stories that build incremental value. So these are, we have identified epics. If I start talking in terms of as we have been talking about right now, if it makes it easy to understand, the epics are there. Now we start writing user stories under each epic. And there is no limit to the depth that you can go, right? There is no limit that you can go to the y-axis. You can identify all possible user stories here. You can later on remove them also. You can add new user stories also. All that is fine. That is what makes a living document, right? So the next step is, third step is we start exploring story. Okay, to do this, what else the user needs to do? The user needs to do actually goes in this direction, y-axis. Now,
is it okay to ask a question now?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead,
So in here, let us say we have this narrative at the top, login, search product, and so on and so forth. In under search product, for instance, I may have yet another small narrative. In the sense, it has sub steps. Okay. So can I write them down in the horizontal way after coming down?
Is it you're trying to say search product might be like different search a product? Is that what that is, Murli?
There might be, see, actually, if it is a R condition, there are multiple ways of searching. Then you may say R condition and then put it as underneath that yellow box. Okay, you may come up with that. But what I am looking at is the search operation itself. There, yes, exactly in that yellow box. If I have multiple steps to achieve that search, so can I write them towards the right after going down the y-axis?
So like I said, Murli, the good way to do it is first do your x-axis, cover the breadth first. That'll give you a better visibility. Is that step actually required to do by the user, or am I adding that something extra?
Okay.
Right. So the right way to do it is finish your green part first. Once you are good with green part, so what we actually do practically, I'll tell you. Once we do a green part, we again go to a narrative flow. This is a practice that we use. We go to a narrative flow. Okay, let's try to call out a narrative flow now with green part. We are good. When we write 2 to 3 level of user stories again, right? We again try to go to a narrative part. Okay, the goal was this, and whatever extra we have written, whatever depth we have gone into, does it still fulfills the narrative flow, or does it still maps the narrative flow maps to the goal that we're trying to achieve? So if you keep checking narrative flows in between after certain timelines or giving certain pauses, right, it'll help you actually understand whether you're going in the right direction or not.
Okay, the question is very simple. Whether I can, after going to the yellow part or yellow colored user stories,
you can see there is no hard and fast rule is that you cannot. You can, if you do any changes in a skeleton or a backbone, go back and check your narrative flow. That's what I'm saying.
Okay,
that's okay.
Okay, Ajit, sorry to interrupt you. We have 15 minutes left for the session.
Yeah, sure. I think we should be done. I am not sure if the practical activity will be possible, but yes, theory we should be done. We'll be able to cover that.
Sure. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Exploring story also, it's not about writing what you know of. It's also writing about certain aspects, might be new ideas, capturing negative scenarios, what could go wrong. Wouldn't it be good if we do it in another way? what else might users do? So capturing all those wild ideas, wild thoughts, risks, negative situations is also part of the exploration of the story, right? So what we usually do is, in this area itself, the depth area itself, we create a separate sticky note and attach it to a main sticky note or a user story where we see that, okay, can something go wrong here? Or is there a better way to do it? We just put it there right now. We don't worry about whether we do it or not. It's just an idea right now. Right? Once you will get into more detailed discussions of refinements or taking that user story to a level where you are say that you want to take it to prioritization has happened, then start considering those factors also. Right? These extra inputs or alternatives or exceptions will help you not to forget that there is something else you have to consider when you have to build it. That's the whole idea, that it is visible again. Okay. Slice out releases from this now. Okay. How do you do this? Arrange each task user stories in a priority order from top to bottom, highest to lowest. Right? We arrange each task user stories in a priority order from highest to bottom. Right? If unsure, compare relative user story value against one another. Relative comparison. Okay. After doing this kind of arrangement, we start taking out releases now from this. Okay. If you're talking about MVP or the first product release, draw a horizontal line on a map and call out, this is our first release, and attach the measurable outcomes, goals, and metrics and KPIs to it. So many times, this is not a straight line. Sometimes it goes like this, like this. It can go in different shapes also, which is also perfectly fine. Not necessarily that will be a straight line always. Okay. Tips for slicing out releases. Each release should mark a minimum viable product that spans your product's users. State how each release contributes to users' goals and how to measure its success. This we attach it with the help of measurable outcomes. Okay. This is just a big story map example. I put it for reference here. I'll just have quickly pause here for a minute. Let you have a look at this. So this is about creating an email application, right? An organized email, manage email, calendar. That's my backbone. And you have a skeleton, which are the steps user does. They can search email, they can file email, compose email, and further I have the stories under it. Right? Like I said, it can go in a direction. This is how I figured out my increment also, not necessarily a straight line. This happens depending on what is it that we are trying to incorporate in a release. Okay. Does this make sense? This is an example from actually Jeff Patton's book, User Story Mapping.
Yes.
I've just taken a screenshot there and put it there.
Yep.
Okay. Story mapping, this is a statement from Jeff Patton. A story map is not a precise model of a user's workflow. It's a tool that helps us work together to tell user stories. How story map fits into agile planning? I think this question was asked by Akhil. Is that right, Akhil? If I remember the name correctly. You're still there in the call. Okay, I don't know. So where does story map fits in? You have a business vision, business goals and outcome. You have a product goals, product vision, or a unique value proposition, right? You create a story map with releases, which becomes a marketable feature sets. And then you can actually take out a product backlog from that. If your story map depends. Now, if your story map, if your teams are smaller, you have a small team, the story map itself can act as a backlog. If you have multiple teams, you're in a bigger organization. From story map, you can chalk out releases. From releases, you can chalk out that, okay, what could be backlogs for specific teams also, right? In this case, your story map becomes a big product backlog, right? And then we can have certain items taking up for each team from the story map that, okay, this could be a backlog for a release, this could be a backlog for a release. That's how actually it fits in all together, right? The envisioning of the product happens here, and then the execution starts happening here. That's how we see it, right? Effective user story mapping, some tips and tricks for you. Ideas vaporize, prevent it, externalize your thoughts, like I said. Write down or draw your thoughts on a sticky notes. Few words are enough. Explain it to the team members and place it on a map. You can even place it on the last of a map or in an ideas backlog, which is a separate area with a story map. That is an idea I have. Let's place it here. Let's later on see where it fits in that story map. Okay. Start each card with a verb. Tell a story. Go in breadth first, then depth. Green area first, yellow areas later on. Okay. 3 levels we have talked about: activity, task, subtask. Try to capture these 3 levels in the story mapping. If you're able to capture these 3 levels, even subtask, the user stories you talked about, if you are able to capture that initially of 1 or 2 levels, it's good, it's fine enough. R&D gaps, holes in narrative, fill the gaps. It could be in form of the exceptions, negative rules, negative situations. It could be any of these areas. Map out the whole product together to identify dependencies. Okay. Tag stories to support prioritization process. You can start tagging stories with Moscow rule or something called as necessary differentiator. This helps business to help you prioritize it better. Right? Okay. Is this a differentiator? Shall we take this in the market first? Or shall we take a necessity in the market first? These kind of decisions become easy when you start tagging your stories, which is actually completely visible in front of you. When you start tagging your stories, this decision making becomes very, very easy. Another input is, once you've done a story map, start tagging your stories. Not the skeleton, not the backbone. Tagging stories is good enough. Okay? Inclusiveness. Ensure that everyone participates. How do you ensure everyone participates in story mapping? How do you ensure the participation is there? How do we ensure inclusiveness? And it's very, very important to have inclusiveness in story mapping, that the results are awesome. It changes the complete dimension of the product.
By asking the right questions during the session.
Okay. What else?
Including everybody. I mean, we can ask questions to those who are not speaking.
Looking at time constraint, I'll share a very simple and a good example on inclusiveness from one of my engagements I had with a customer in Hong Kong. I saw their story map. I was there for certain sessions and to small coaching engagement there. They had sticky notes. They had a big board. They had sticky notes. And I saw that there are sticky notes which are cut into different shapes. Any guess why they were cut into different shapes?
Different participants, team members.
Okay.
To differentiate the levels, like these are the backbones or these are the
Might be
MVPs.
No, to identify from which team it is coming from. Probably
Okay.
the idea or whether
Right now, story mapping team is not defined. We are envisioning a product. Team is not defined right now. Who will do what?
Oh, okay.
This is envisioning a product right now. And there were sticky notes of all shapes. There was a human created out of sticky note. There was star created out of that. There was a circle created out of that. Any guess?
Okay. So define the
some might
person.
be user stories, some might be enablers, kind of.
Okay.
Those will be the themes.
I'll tell you, this was only done for to address a concern by one team member. And the concern was that gentleman had a problem in his vision with colors. Did you get it?
Yeah, something like Brainlipi, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes, that is inclusiveness. And I was actually surprised to see the level of empathy that team had and the leadership had, that for one individual to ensure that the person is involved and he was experienced guy and good position, techie. Inclusiveness was actually empathy, I would say, not sympathy. It was an empathy part that yes, we need to have these individuals' inputs are important for us, our team. Let's try to figure out a way that how we all can be more inclusive. I mean, that is one of the best examples I've seen so far. Just wanted to share.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it.
No problem. So learning objectives, I'm just coming back a quick check on this. This is all what we have done today. We have covered what is story mapping, a simple definition for you. Story mapping is a highly collaborative method, technique, process, pattern that uses visual thinking with aim to establish common and shared understanding in cross-functional product teams with the help of narrative. Okay? Why use story mapping? Shared understanding, conversation starter, getting the big picture out, help supports in prioritization, goal minimize, output and maximize outcome, visible product goal and vision, identify holes and understanding. Anatomy of a user story map, activities, tasks, subtasks. Personas is something that you add. I'm not put personas here. Good to add personas. Personas can be added as you go on. How to build a story map? Frame a product, map big picture, explore the story. That's how we build a story map. So I just wanted to put sub pointers in the learning objectives that this is all we have covered and a quick revision for you. I'll stop for questions here. I think we still have 4 minutes for questions.
Hey, Shiva, one question. When it comes to story, right, there are too many constraints, too many rules applying, like invest or the format of the story. So, do we talk all about that, and where do we document this?
Sushil, I could hear only some words. You said format of a story. There was some background noise. Did you say format of a
There is
story
a
on
lot
that?
of background noise. Yeah.
Can I repeat my question again?
Yeah, please,
It is clear.
please.
Okay, when we talk about a story, there are too many constraints, like a format of the story, and then depends on the sprints or length, invest criteria applied, all of that. So in a story mapping, do we consider all of that?
Okay. So first is, don't worry about the user story format in the story map. The idea is to capture what we are envisioning. Even limited words are good enough. We are smart. Our brains are smart that they can fill the gaps on their own also. It happens. Don't worry about the format of the user story. I think we already discussed about this. Capture what is important and what helps you remember the discussion. Okay, this is what we talked about, and this was our conversation. Capture that part only. Don't worry too much about the format here right now. Right. Second, you can capture all those other areas other than stories, limitations, risks, your problem areas or considerations, your dependencies. All that can be captured here with a different color sticky note or whatever way you want to highlight it by marking it or whatever is the way.
Okay, so I have just one more suggestion, Shiva, before you go ahead. As we are discussing questions, can we all turn on our cameras so that we can take a photo? And Ajit, you stop sharing the screen so the bigger screen.
All right, I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Please go on, Shiva.
Yes, Shiva, please go ahead with your question. Shiva, go ahead with your question, please, again. I'm not sure if I'm audible to Shiva.
Yeah, Ajit, I have a question.
Yes, Harish.
Yeah, it's a great session. Thanks for the session. I just wanted to check whether, suppose if a team comes and asks me, can we have a BRD document, a big page of say 20 or 30 page BRD document, which is already written, because they're saying they are agile, but they are typically very comfortable writing BRD documents. So, and now they wanted to convert that BRD document into a user story map.
Yeah.
Okay, so it means it's more of a process converting to a kind of a user story technique, right? Like, because process in BRD, everything would have been defined, right? So I have to do this after this.
Yeah.
So in this kind of situation, is it a right approach to advise from a coaching perspective? Hey, we can do it. And then take the BRD as a base and then come up with the story map session. Or should I do a kind of any prerequisites that's required to make the team understand what is the consequence of doing that?
Okay. So if you ask me as a coach, I would answer it as a coach. Is that okay?
Yeah, fine.
Okay. First is, I'm in the same situation right now.
Okay.
The engagement I'm in the exactly same situation. Okay. So what I did is, I waited for the right opportunity. I tried to do this earlier. I'm not saying that I'm trying to abolish a complete existing system, which many people are using it and they're comfortable with. It takes time. There are still some people are writing ERDs here right now. They are comfortable in writing that. Then they give this to product management or product owners, whatever it is. Sometimes they're in good shape, sometimes they're in bad shape. So when product owners or product management comes to you that BRD is in bad shape, we don't know what they're trying to do. What is it that they're trying to ask us to get done, right? So in this kind of scenario, I have an advantage of taking them towards a direction of which gives them more visibility. It could be a story mapping technique. It could be something else also, right? It could be, if you want to understand the journeys of users better, we can create journey maps also, right? I can take them to any other approach, mind map, any other design thinking approach. This is something which is contextual, that you have to first understand what is there in the BRD, what is a challenge in the product manager or a product owner, then try to find a relevant solution. For me, I have taken a step off from BRD to a story map, and it has worked very well. Now, what every product owner does is, whenever they get a BRD, they actually create a story map out of it first. That's what I'm talking from experience.
Yeah, thanks, Ajit. Actually, to add on, see, I have convinced the same way, and they have come to a story map. They agreed to come up with that thing, but I just wanted to always check, because Ajay says inspect and have, right? So I just wanted to know whether my approach is right or not. That's the thing. That one thing. And second question is there any specific tool which will help us to better this process of story mapping?
I use Miro. I will just use my screen for a minute again, right? Is that okay, Deepti? Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. So I use Miro. Miro has a template already. This is now we create physical boards. Miro already has a story mapping template, which we can actually use. If you can see my screen, let me go to full screen here. So this is a user story map template that we can use from Miro. All these things are actually there built in it. I wanted to use it for this practical session. That's why I added these personas at top here, organizers and participants, because of shortage of time we could not do that. But Miro is there. Another tool is, I just forgot the name of it. I've been primarily using Miro so far.
Okay. Do you have experience working with some Jira plugins for the user story mapping?
I have used Jira plugins for at time of when you use Jira plugins for scale transformation and all that, you do have the opportunity to do it there. I've done those, not specific any story mapping tool in Jira, not any specific.
No, the challenge which I face is like we need to integrate everything into Jira. So if I do a story mapping for one team, how can I try to cascade it to multiple teams and then establish a relationship if there is any dependencies across teams? So that's the challenge which I'm just facing now, because the story mapping gels well with single team, whatever the plugins available. The Miro board you showed also helps, but if I need to navigate and during the mapping session, if there is dependencies across team, then swapping this mapping board is a challenge actually. So that's what I just wanted to check.
So in this case, Harish, what I would suggest is, see, story mapping should be done by all teams collectively if they are working on a single product. That's one thing.
Okay. No, they are working on different products, and they are telling there is no dependencies. But as we evolve the products, the dependencies may come. With that assumption, I'm just going.
Right.
I
So
thought I need to.
Dependency resolution can be done if you do your release planning, or if you're following something like SAFe, that can be actually done very clearly in PI planning itself. Story mapping is you can use to sequence your dependencies or put something that we do aware of. When it comes to dependency resolution, I think the better area to do that is a release planning, or you're doing SAFe or PA planning. But
thanks, Ajit.
Great
Thanks.
session.
Thank you very much, Ajit.
Thank you, Ajit.
And, yeah, I think we have reached end of the session. I think Purva and Anjuman also wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Ajit. It was a great session. Thank you, Ajit, for helping us.
Thank you, Anjuman. My pleasure. It was good to have you all here.
So I would also like to say thank you to you for for a wonderful session. So and everyone who took out time and could make out for the session. Thank you so much for joining.
And guys, you can connect with Ajit on LinkedIn. And I think Purva, you wanted to share about Change Agent Summit?
Yeah, and also the same thing, like Ajit can share his email ID so that anyone, if you have any questions, can connect offline to him, or maybe you can share your number if that is okay.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Stay
Ajit.
safe and have a great evening.
Thank you. Have a nice weekend. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thanks, Ajit. It was a fantastic session.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ajit.
Thank you, Ajit. It was good
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
to work with you again on the sessions.
Sure, sir. Thank you.